Okay.
All right, so we have an extremely, first, so happy everybody was able to, I mean, we have 73 people in the room tonight, so this is fantastic. And I'm glad everybody was able to, be able to catch some or most of this. And like we said, we'll record it also, but there is a lot of stuff in here. We'll do a little disclaimer. Um, there's a school board meeting on Thursday. So any and all of this is subject to change at that point. This is the latest and greatest that we have, and it's what we are working from at this point. Uh, but kind of par for the course is that a lot of this is really is a moving target. So anyway, welcome. Glad everybody could join us. We wanted to make sure we did this tonight before, our kindergarten families return. And then we, of course, at the current moment, sorry, Jeff. Um, at the current moment, first and second grade is scheduled to return on December 1st. So we're going to really focus everything we've done and plan. All of our planning is really around, student and staff safety. We are following all the guidelines for the health department. Uh, we are following all the guidelines the county is putting out. Those continue to change. Some become a little bit more restricting as with each week, and some actually relax. So it's not always consistently going in one direction. We've included in, if you were a kindergarten family, you received an email if you are returning this week. If first and second grade emails will go out next week. And in there will be links to that family guide that we're referencing and some other documents that need to be filled out. But I certainly think if your child is returning in person, please, start talking to them about it. Ask them if they have questions, reassure them that, we're doing everything we can to keep everything clean and safe, and, practice wearing their mask. The mask is now a mandatory part of Fairfax County's return. We do have a little leeway for students that, are struggling a little bit, but we got a slide that comes back to that in a little bit. Talk to them about social distancing, and we're going to be doing tons of hand washing, covering, coffee and sneeze go into your arm, your hands. Most of them have a mask on anyway. But all those little common sense things that you hear every day on the news and on the internet, just keep reassuring that those are good things to do.
We finished, so then, did you have fun? Yes. Now we need it.
Fuzzy?
Okay, so this is if you've been watching anything on school board, this is kind of the what we're operating in. And currently we are in the cohort learning for groups 5 and 6, which will be our kindergarten group returning, and then our first and second grade group returning. Mid-year, we're going to be transitioning to the hybrid learning. We're not going to get into that because that could likely change. But for right now, for cohort, what that means for you guys is that students are going to be in cohort groups, meaning that the group that they come to school with, like their kindergarten class, we are not mixing classes. We will not be doing pull-out groups of classes from different that are together, mixing from like Miss Nealon's class will not be mixing with Ms. Cholowinski's class. They're going to stay strictly with their cohort.
So we've all heard a little bit about the concurrent instruction and what does it mean and what does it look like. So we went into this with really some open-mindedness and trying to say, what is most important for our students, what is most important for our families, and what is most important for, our functional for our teachers. So the county has said our concurrent model will be, there is a subset of kids that are going to stay virtual, and they will be virtual the rest of the school year. And then there are either in each class, there'll be 1 or 2 groups. There'll be a Tuesday, Wednesday, and or a Thursday, Friday group, depending on numbers. And so they'll come in person 2 days, and then they'll be virtual those other 2 days a week. One of the things that was very evident from all the requests from parents and questions for parents, the most important thing for your kids and from your perspective, and actually from ours as well, was to keep our kids with the relationships they've already built, to keep your kids with the relationships that you have already built. One of the strange phenomenons from this year is teaching has been very personal. All the teachers you have trusted them and welcomed them into your homes every day. And that's a big ask, and we recognize that. And, with all these changes and differences, we know instruction, we're not closing any gaps right now. Our goal is to maintain, maximize, and keep kids at least where they are at a minimum. If we can start working them back and closing some gaps, that's great. But the one thing that is so important and will transcend any model we do is the relationships between the teachers, your children, and the teachers in you. And so we have made a really conscious decision to keep our classes together. So you will be with your teacher the rest of the year. You will be with your classmates the rest of the year. And we have found a model that is both concurrent and allows us to do this. So with this model, everybody will receive 4 days a week. I'll just keep going, Leslie, because it fits. So some classes have a group A and a group C. Some classes based on number have a group A, a group B, and a group C. And it really just depends on classes. What we have been able to accomplish so far is that every classroom teacher will at least have one other adult with them to help facilitate, monitor our virtual students. They'll also be co-teachers within that classroom as well. We have gone ahead and spent $23,000 to buy larger monitors, really sophisticated classroom cameras for each of the classes so that the kids at home can still feel part of the classroom and vice versa. The money came through the CARES grant from the federal government, and we took advantage of it and said, you know what, if they're going to give it to us, we're going to make sure our kids have the best that they can have, and our teachers have the best technology to make this happen. So that is really how we have gone ahead and approached putting all this together.
Okay, so now we're going to go into a little bit of the safety protocols. Just so you guys know, this is a pretty long presentation. We are going to stop midway for questions as well, because this is a lot of information. So just so you know, in terms of cleaning protocols, FCPS is our custodians are working very, very tirelessly at cleaning already. We do already have students in the building. We have preschool students in our building 4 days a week right now. So they're thoroughly cleaning and disinfecting surfaces, doors, toilets, handles of doors, making sure we're always fully stocked. We have wipes, we have spray. We don't have the typical Clorox wipes, but we have been able to get wipes through the county. Throughout the day, there is increased cleaning of those surfaces like door handles. We don't really use the elevator buttons, but if we were to use those would be clean. Tables, light switches, all of our custodians have been very thoroughly trained in this, and they have been doing it now for a couple weeks because we do already have preschool in the building, like I mentioned. So they're pretty experienced. And as we start to bring cohorts in, if you're familiar with the building of North Springfield, we're kind of bringing them in sections the way it's happening. So it'll be the primary hallway first. And so they'll kind of start to build down that hallway and the cleaning as we continue to add kids.
So lunch is an area we were kind of given some options from the county. But we have consciously said that it is healthy for our students to change rooms and go to the cafeteria to eat and kind of get up and move and be able to see uh, their friends and whatnot. So Ms. Malkowski and I actually spent quite a bit of time with the office staff going through the cafeteria setup. For any one grade level, K2, we never have more than 26 kids in that grade level in the building on any one day. So because of that, we are going to be able to eat in the cafeteria, and we have basically assigned seating in the cafeteria by designating seats at the tables with an X, so that not only are all the children facing forward, but they're also all, I would say, we went with the standard of 8 feet between 8 to 10 feet between each child, front, back, and each sides. And we have seating for 28 in the cafeteria at the moment. You know, if we need, we have a couple extra tables too, if we need to make that bigger for a reason, any other reason. But right now we're planning on sending our kids to the cafeteria. They'll go down. The entire grade level will eat at one time for a half hour. There'll be a 5-minute pause between, say, K and first grade, where adults will clean all the tables, all the seats. And then once the K leaves and is back out of the hallways, first we'll come down the hallways, hand sanitize, go through the lunch line, or go to a seat to sit down and begin eating. Because it's a relatively large room and we're going to have very few kids that we normally do, we are kind of considering doing some other things in there once the kids get the routine down of maybe playing some music, possibly putting, you know, a movie on the screen, just so that, you know, it feels relaxing to the kids and they have a chance to, you know, relax for a few minutes. At the current moment, students obviously can bring their lunch from home. They're recommending that they use disposable bags. So once they take it to lunch, they could just throw it out. But, you know, that's what they're hoping everybody does. Right now, their FCPS is going to, well, at least at this moment, that could change on Friday or Thursday night, but the grab and go lunches are what is planned. However, there is a movement and push back to hot meals. And I know they're trying to make that happen once the kids start. So I'm hopeful that they will go back to a more traditional school lunch relatively soon. Students will be asked to wear a mask down to the cafeteria while they're waiting in the line, while they're picking up food, but they can take their mask off when they sit at the table. One of the things that we've purchased, at least for all of our kindergarten students at this point, and we're going to use them as our pilot group, is kind of like lanyards or little straps, so that when they take their masks off, it hangs around their neck, their shirt, so that it stays clean and they don't lose it. It doesn't fall on the floor or anything, and then they can just hook it back up. And that way, whether they're in gym, out at recess, in the cafeteria, on a mask break, they can take it off. It's hanging right there and put it back on, so that, again, I'm trying to make it easy for them, for the teachers, so you guys don't have to wash a mask every single night because you get 4 home, you know, dirty. Students that are still doing virtual learning can still come to the school during their lunch break in the bus loop and also get the grab and go lunches. Those will still be available. And like I mentioned, tables and chairs will be cleaned by adults between each group.
So we do still have our school health aide, Ms. Barrage, who is in school and supporting in our health room. And we also have what's called an isolation room. Students with individualized health or action plans who require any type of medication daily, or if they have any type of emergency, they will be seen in the health room. your typical day-to-day things that happen, like a Band-Aid, a bumped head, you know, anything, a tooth falls out, that kind of stuff is going to be handled in the classroom. Each teacher is going to have like a little kit basically in their room to handle that. We're really kind of working on the kids doing things independently. So we're going to help them wash their hands, make sure they put their tooth in the tooth container. If it falls out, put it right in their backpack. You know, we're really limiting any of that interaction with us or with the health aide. Parents will be required to bring in any medication to support their student during the school day prior to the first day of school. That has been in our newsletter the past couple of weeks. If you have a child that is going to require medication in the clinic during the day, please, please, please make sure you call the office and schedule a time to drop that off with Ms. Barrage in the health room. The isolation room, I can't remember if we have a slide about it, but I can talk a little bit about it. So the isolation room is basically created for our students who would be exhibiting any type of COVID symptom. We have a very specific list that includes, you know, a new runny nose, a new cough, a fever of 100.4 or higher, dizziness, vomiting, diarrhea. There's a whole list. Any of those things, if they were to happen, and we're going to get into more detail this a little bit later, that student will be sent to what's called the isolation room. And the isolation room would be where we get in our full PPE. We're going to examine that child. We're going to call you, and you're going to have to come pick up your child within an hour, and you'll be given a referral to call your pediatrician. And we'll get into the details of that in a few slides.
Yeah, and just to kind of put that in reference, you know, we understand there is going to be some frustration with this process, but we have to work by it. In 3.5 or 4 weeks of preschool at this point, we've had a total of three or four, Leslie? 3 kids that have gone into the isolation room. So we're hoping that families, everybody's doing a really great job. Just kind of, if your child is sick, then keep them home and send them in when they're healthy. And, you know, I myself, my youngest has been sick the last couple of days, more or less just a cold, but we kept him home so that he wouldn't have to, you know, go through that either. So recess, as of right now, the recess equipment, the county is saying, because we are in this phase 2 cohort phase, that the equipment we should stay off the playground. It's not in use at this point. However, when we do get to that phase 3, we're hoping that it does open up. They're also working with the County Park Authority and Health Department to possibly open it up sooner. But as of right now, the playground equipment, the swings and jungle gyms and that piece will be closed during recess. However, we can bring out, we're going to put together bags where kids, if one child, you know, we might bring a couple basketballs, a couple soccer balls, whatnot. We have certain areas, the field, the pitch, the blacktop. Once a child uses an item, though, it'll go into a bin where we know that we have to wash that playground equipment before anybody else uses it. But that's our plan, because recess without, you know, any kind of toys, balls, or anything like that, jump ropes, I'm sure will get old quickly. Face coverings, obviously outside for recess. You know, we're going to supervise that. We'll go through, you know, with the kids. Outside without a mask is 10 feet. Outside with a mask is 6 feet. Kids will be there'll be actually quite a few breaks throughout the day where they're hand washing and hand sanitizer. Certainly going out to recess and coming in from recess will be, you know, 2 of those times. Going to lunch, coming back from lunch will be 2 of those times. If they're going to PE for PE will still be in the gym. The other specials will be coming into the classroom. So when they go out to the gym, there'll be a hand sanitizer and wash before, and then after when they come back in. So we are really we will be training them well as far as hand washing and those kind of structures and protocols.
Okay, so I'm not going to read this to you guys. This is the slide that came from the county that the health department has created around the 5 mitigation strategies and what we're using within the building to help decrease our risk of a COVID outbreak within our building. So, you know, the big things are the consistent and correct use of face masks. That is a regulation in Fairfax County. Everybody is required to wear a face mask unless they have a medical note from a doctor. And cleaning and disinfection, which we are doing throughout the day, multiple times a day. We have the contact tracing that is supported through the local health department. You know, our social distancing, the way we set up our classrooms, all of the students are at least 6 feet apart, if not more. We're lucky in that we are a small school, so we've really been able to maximize our space and spread our students out. And then, of course, the hand hygiene. You know, we're really going to work with our kids, continuing to wash their hands, making sure that they're covering their cough when they blow their nose. All of that all requires hand washing. This form, I'll just go with this. So this form did come out for kindergarten parents. Chad did send that in his email. If you are returning to school, you received that email. And that return to school email was this form. This form is required for you to come back. And basically what you're saying is you're going to read through this form and you're going to agree that you are going to screen your child every day and you are not going to send your child to school sick. Once you fill it out, it's basically like an honor system and you're agreeing to do that. Until we get this signed from you, if you're returning to school, we are going to have a filled out daily questionnaire. So we are asking that you fill this out through Parent View and NSES. It's available in multiple languages. And if you don't have a NSES Parent View, we can also get the form to you. It's on the Fairfax County website. You can shoot your teacher an email. We'll put it on our staff website. We did put it in our newsletter, and it'll be linked right into our SIS, so we'll know that you've filled it out.
So daily temperature checks. So we will be doing temperature checks every day for every student. So at the bus stop, before your child gets on the bus, if they are a bus rider, a bus driver or attendant will take the temperature and they do record them. They turn those sheets in, I think it's every Friday. If your child has a temperature of 100.4 or higher, they will not let them on the bus. So that's why they're asking that, you know, an adult, a responsible middle school age sibling or older be there just in case, you know, the temperature check comes back too high. When if you are a kiss and ride or a walker, then you'll be coming in the walkers will be coming in door 12, which is right by the cafeteria, along with the bus riders. We will be scanning all of our walkers before they come into the building with the same protocols. And then our kiss and ride students who will come in door 3 at the other end of the building will also go through the same temperature check before they enter the building. If a student comes to the building either in kiss and ride or with as a walker and has a temperature of 100.4 or higher, they'll also be getting a form from us that it's the pediatrician return to school form that will need to be signed before they return to school. And that's just the pediatrician is clearing your child to return. I know it will be frustrating at time. I'm sure we are going to be right there with you with that frustration. We will work with you, but we have to follow these protocols, and there really is not an exception to these at this time.
So, and to piggyback on that, the face covering and mask, we have mentioned this a couple times, but this is a CDC requirement. All children who are 2 years old and up are required to wear face coverings. It's kind of up to you, cloth or disposable, what you prefer your child to wear. Honestly, just whatever they're most comfortable with. They did put something out now that those face masks with the little vents are not approved. So if your child is wearing that, they are saying that they want either a cloth or a disposable face mask. We are going to recommend that you guys send more than one because, Chad and I are experiencing this. We wear masks all day, every day at work. And, you want to change them because they get wet or, after you've had lunch or whatever, midday, kids are going to want to change their masks. So please send more than one in their backpack. We also do have extra disposable ones available at school. And any student requesting an exemption will need to have a written statement from his or her doctor confirming that it's medically necessary. Just so you guys are aware, we have had some situations of students who are struggling with wearing a mask. There are some pretty specific protocols we put into place. And in the event they cannot master the mask wearing, they are going to be asked to return to virtual. So that's just a safety precaution that we have to put in place to make sure everybody's safe at school.
And again, just another perspective, our preschoolers all are wearing a mask.
Yep.
And it's going very well. So we know they can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So bus transportation, always the last piece of information, but the one piece that everybody wants to know and is always critical. We have not received any of the routes yet from transportation. I'm going to assume you will know by Monday if you're getting a bus. They'll give you a call. Buses are set up with a seating chart, so they are socially distanced on the bus. I think they're skipping every other seat and then the odd seat on the other side, if I remember correctly. Again, they're asking all children to accompany an adult to accompany them in the morning each day because of the temperature checks. So if kids do have to go home, parents are aware that they're home and know why. Let's see, we talked about that. If they're not available, the school staff, will be contacting. If it would be, hopefully we're not doing that because then the bus is going to be much later arriving to school, and we certainly don't want to send our kiddos home if nobody's home to take care of them or even know that they're home. So hopefully if we will contact you if there is no parent. I would say it probably is a fourth or fifth grader, probably that for us, which, is later down the year. But as primary students, I'm sure most of you will have either an older sibling or yourselves or a grandparent there. They do have to wear their mask on the school bus. And again, they're going to be required to sit in assigned seats on the bus so they can socially distance.
You want to keep going?
Oh, sure. Okay, bus stop. It will be, your bus stop information will be available on Parent View. However, it's always last minute. I mean, even we usually get that stuff either no more than 2 days prior to even the start of a normal school year. The Here Comes the Bus app is available and that app is great because you can actually see where the bus is in the route. If they're delayed, leaving school or even getting to your house for pickup. So I highly recommend, throwing that on your phone so you can actually watch it while you're waiting, either for the bus for a pickup or to be dropped off in the afternoon. At the current moment, we are following our current bell schedule, which is our official start time is 8:45, and we will end at 3:30. One thing that's a little different, because we cannot house, we can't send the students either to the gym or to the cafeteria to wait for the first bell. We are going to open doors at 8:30 when we open up next Tuesday, and at least moving forward for the first through the holiday break and through this first cohort. 2 groups with kindergarten and first and second. So at 8:30, the doors will open. Students will be once we take temperatures, will be directed. There'll be all hands on deck for adults to direct the kids to their classroom. They'll go directly to their classroom, meet their teacher in the room, and then we will formally begin our day with the morning news show and everything right at 8:45, just as they have been. At the current moment, parents aren't able to come in the school. If we'll do everything outside or by appointment only, but that's a county direction. Most likely there will be a bell change or transition to once we start the second semester, just because the county will pretty much double or, double their bus load. So we don't know. We're hoping we can stay pretty close to what we are. But at least through our first two groups here, we're going to be safe.
I do think it's important though, Chad, just so everybody knows, if you were to link on that school board work session from June 15th, what our proposed time was is very late.
It's later. Now I have started my own little crusade to and feel like we have some really good safety reasons why we need to have an earlier schedule and separate our preschool and school age students with arrival and dismissal. Keep your fingers crossed. We'll be able to win that little battle and hopefully, keep our schedule as close to normal as possible. As we do know anything, I will certainly let everybody know as soon as we find out. Let's see here. So yeah, bell schedule. So this is where we are with arrival and dismissal at the moment. Pre-K and kindergarten, we're going to bring all the bus riders and walkers, as I said, in door 12 by the cafeteria. That is, and kiss and ride in door 3. Those doors will open at 8:30. Dismissal starts at 3:30. And however, I'm going to assume however they get to school will be home unless there's specific directions to the teacher. And then we will have them, sorted appropriately to meet you wherever. If you are doing kiss and ride, let your teachers know though, please don't send a note, email the teacher directly, but set that up with your teacher so that they are aware where they're going. It will be way easier than normal to keep track of this number of students, but still we want to make sure that they are in the place where you expect them to be when it's time for pickup. Kindergartners are a hand-to-hand handoff. So which means walking students, we will accept them from your hand in the morning and we will release them to your hand in the afternoon. We need an adult or responsible 18-year-old to come pick them up in the afternoon if they're a walker. Grades 1 and 2, and certainly 3 through 5, we did put to be determined just because there's a few things. We still have an SRS, which is that return to school program that was run through the SAC department in our building. And we have to just work throughout logistics. We're not sure how long they're going to be with us, but we just want to make sure before we release any detailed instructions that they're correct for all the parties' safety that are in the building.
And I just want to reiterate, Chad was saying about kindergarten, also what he said about bus riders. What is a big difference this year is kindergarten is always hand to hand and there's always an adult. This year, everybody has to have an adult in the morning because of that temperature check piece. So, you can't send your kid as a walker by themselves. You need to make sure that an adult comes with them, somebody who can take them if they were to have a temperature home. That is a big, big change. So just to make sure that you keep that in mind.
Yeah, I did see that question that popped up. I'll just answer it because it goes right with arrival and dismissal. I did get an email that said we will have a crossing guard. So that was confirmed this week. So I'm not sure who asked that question. I just read it really quickly, but we will we should have a crossing guard. I will follow up with that by the end of the week here, just to ensure that they're there on Tuesday.
So we're at about halfway through our presentation. We do still have some more information to go through, but we thought it would be good to kind of stop halfway through. I've tried to keep up with the questions in the chat, but Ken, I don't know if you have any you want to ask or if people want to ask directly.
Sure, I'll just go ahead and recite what's there in the chat since we are recording this for our YouTube audience. So Lauren T asked if we want to switch to kiss and ride from the bus, who do we notify? And you had answered, Leslie, changing how you get to know, how you get to school is okay, just making sure the teacher knows, and email Donna Cruzy. Question was how will not changing classes look for advanced math? Response was upper grades will be the hybrid model as of now, so we should be able to switch. Wendy asked if we have chosen virtual learning for the rest of the school year, does the student continue to have the same teacher? The response was yes, teachers are not changing at this time. Lauren T asked, when the Ks are in person in 2 days, is their teacher in person or online, or is it not yet known? And the response was some teachers are in person and some are online based on ADA accommodations. We will have an adult in every classroom to support no matter what the case. Emily asked if we pick virtual learning for January, but we move into phase 3, et cetera, will more kids be allowed back into the school building? Response is we don't know yet. Question is, will PE be concurrent? Response is yes, everything is concurrent. The Del Boys asked what type of mask is required, such as N95, surgical cloth, etc., or cloth mask acceptable. And I also asked about gaiters. I don't remember if there's a response for that.
So cloth, disposable, those are all acceptable. The only thing we've been told so far is we just found this out this week, was the masks with the little vent thing. I'm not sure what those are called.
Oh, the filters.
Yes, thank you. That's not a very official term.
Well, I don't know. Is it a filter or or is it like a?
It's an air.
It's like an air vent kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's a breather to like a snorkel set.
Okay. All right. So that's not acceptable then, correct?
Correct.
Correct.
Okay. Artemis asked, how will specials work for in-person days, and do students need to bring their personal computers, not a county computer, to school? Jeff also asked, we have the same question. Our kids will have their own computers, not school issued. And Leslie said, we will issue computers to all students. Chow and Lauren asked similar questions. My kid has been using a personal computer when they return to school. Can he bring his own? And Lauren says, oh, yes. Can they continue? Yes.
Hold it. So the answer to that is if a student has a school computer already, we obviously don't have enough to have a home set and a school set. But if they have a school issued computer, we're going to ask them to put that in their backpack and bring it back and forth. If they've been utilizing a home computer, then we will have one at school for them to use. It'll have to stay there, but we will have a school computer for them to use while they're in the building. And we have the list. Actually, we're already working on sorting those and setting everything we did when they checked out a computer. We're actually working on doing that right now for all the kids that have been working on a personal computer, from home and not a school issued computer. So that should be all ready for your kiddos when they
So Chad, I think though some parents are saying that their kid is very comfortable with their computer because it's a touch screen or whatever it may be. What I wasn't sure is if that's even if they're allowed to bring in their personal computer. I said
so. There may be an additional form that we need to have you fill out. It's there's a name for it.
The BYOD, bring your own device. Yeah.
The bring your own device form. If that is something you're interested in, we will let your teacher know, and we'll get clarification tomorrow from our tech folks, and have that form. We'll put it in a PDF so that your teacher can send that to you if that's an option that you would like to.
I just want to add that, like, please know that what's scary about that is if they're riding a bus or whatever, and it's an expensive piece of equipment, that's my only, as a parent, just,
Yeah, the school computers are covered and we can replace those with an insurance policy. So your home computer, that I would hate to have
yes,
that hit the pavement and
yes.
invite it. So.
Just as a follow-up to that, will the students need to bring in like headphones or any other kind of supplies, school supplies, pens, crayons, etc.?
Yes. So
yes.
supplies are not allowed to be shared. So any supplies that were provided or that you're using, we are going to ask that you do bring those to and from school. The teachers for the kids who are coming to school are going to help them make sure they have like a little bag to go back and forth. But we're used to a community environment and we can't do that. So the kids were given those bags at the beginning of the year. We're not going to ask families to go out and buy additional things at this time, but we are going to ask that you bring that stuff to and from school.
And if we have to supplement certain things for kids, we will certainly do that. So if they have a little baggie or pouch or set of things that they've been using, then, by all means, they can put that in their bag, and then whatever they're missing, we'll supplement for them.
And will they be allowed to leave those at school? And then we've got about 7 or 8 questions in the queue. So
we will because they will be everybody will be virtual at least 2 days. They'll take them home, that stuff home with them, so that when they're in a virtual class, which will basically be just like what they're doing right now, they'll have all those things to work on, to do their work with.
All right, so questions from the chats here. Since we've broken for questions, when will we know if our teacher will be in person or virtual? Sorry if you answered this.
What grade level are they in?
I don't know. It's Casey iPhone 11. If that helps.
First grade.
So first grade should go out on Monday. We are just finalizing. We're double checking because we are making sure that all siblings K5, actually pre-K5.
Chad, that letter doesn't say whether their teacher's virtual or in person, though. Like they're asking if their teacher has an ADA accommodation is going to be at home.
Is that what you're asking, or day of week?
No, that was what I was asking.
Okay, so
because we won't know the ADA until they walk in, or
so first grade, I guess. Hang on, do we have? I'm just looking to see what. So first grade, all right, we can talk about each of the models. Kindergarten and second grade are very similar in their models, in which the teachers will basically be doing the in-school. There'll be all those teachers, except for Miss Nealon and Miss Gibbons and Miss Nealon. Miss Gibbons will be in the classroom in school. Miss Nealon will be virtual, but they will be co-teaching in the classroom. The technology we have in our classroom actually allows our virtual teachers to be projected right onto the whiteboard and actually guide their lessons. So that's how Mr. Kimball will be doing music. And we have 9 staff members that have a tier 1 ADA exemption. But it's not going to affect, because we have a teacher in with every single class that is either, if the I'm trying to look at in let me just start back where I started. I'm trying to create a picture and it's not doing a very good job. It's late. Kindergarten and second grade, their teachers will be basically teaching everything. The kids that will be in the building will be with their teachers. Miss Gibbons, who's been with Miss Nealon's class, will be the teacher in the building for her. Every other teacher will also have a second adult that most of the kids have already been working with and are familiar with in small group work and whatnot, that will also be in with their class, helping the virtual kids at that same time. So if the virtual kids are having login issues or struggling to find what a link that they're supposed to be pulling up to follow along and working, and so they can answer questions with the teachers. They're going to be able to they're going to have an adult to help the virtual kids during that co-teaching time period. Yeah, we've purchased 24-inch monitors, and we're going to use we'll probably start seeing a switch by some grade levels to, a Google Classroom site where it'll be much like this. They would be able to see all the virtual students at one time, all their faces, responses. The technology is pretty amazing. Now, first grade is a little different. We have 4 classes, and 2 out of the 4 teachers have an ADA Tier 1 health exemption. So we have gone ahead, rather than break up the classes, we've made 2 super classes. So we have paired up Miss Nilsson and Miss Fawcett, and Miss Borelli will be with Miss Mallon. So Miss Mallon and Miss Nilsson will be the in-person, they'll be in school teaching all the kids that are coming to school. And Miss Borelli and Miss Fawcett will be doing or facilitating the virtual students at the same time. The 2 pairs, so Miss Nilsson and Miss Fawcett will co-teach, co-lead. Miss Fawcett will be in live doing some of the focus lessons and whatnot in the classroom via projector or TV screen for all the kids. And there'll be times with Miss Nilsson will grab a group of virtual kids and work in a small group. It will be very interchangeable, but they will be kind of co-teaching both of their classes. And the same will happen for Miss Borelli and Miss Mallon. What that equates to with our numbers is about 22 to 24 virtual kids each day, and 8 to 10 in-person kids each day. And that's because there's really about 30 kids or 32 kids when you combine those 2 classes together. We're actually really excited about it. The teachers are excited about it because they had no idea how they were going to get done. Ms. Milkowski and I really thought out of the box about this one and said, this is the only way we can keep them with their teachers, because if we do have to go back all virtual, they are with their teachers. There has been no change, and it's right back to where it is now. The other benefit to this, Ms. Tirico, Ms. Horvath, Ms. Haywood, all adults that have been working with first grade will also continue to work with first grade. So there will be days where each of those classes could have 3 or 4 adults working with both the in-person and virtual kids, in a variety of different ways and shapes and forms. So we're actually super excited that we were able to do it. We thought about this, we got region approval. As we said, hey, this is what we want to do and why. And for us, every single request that a parent sent in, their number one thing, almost word for word, was, what do I have to sign up to do to keep my teacher? And at the end of the day, the relationships are far more important right now. And we need our kids to feel comfortable. We need you as parents to feel comfortable to send your kids in. And there is absolutely no doubt that this was the right decision to do. The teachers were absolutely ecstatic that they're going to keep their class. They don't have to start over. So we're really excited about it. And I know there's going to be glitches, but we are fully committed to figuring out how to make it work for everybody. So, and our teachers have already began training on it. Kindergarten started this week. First grade's coming in tomorrow and Friday for meetings, and they're already working on how to make it work. So we're very excited, and it should be, we're hoping that they can actually pilot a number of options. So by the time we get to 3rd, 4th, and 5th, we have a couple different models that all work in somewhat of the same way.
And Chad, I think you answered this. There was a question in here. So some kids could be in person, but they could be watching their teacher on the computer in the classroom.
Yep.
Okay, and
That's why
we
I
have another
think-
thing.
Sorry, I just wanted to add one thing to that. That's why it's also important that just everybody knows in concurrent model, we are asking kids to bring their laptops because there is going to be times where the whole class is still on the computer together.
Mhm.
So that's a big part of it.
There was a question
And-
about, go ahead, Ken.
I was gonna say there's a lot of other questions. I can try and go through them if you want.
Why don't we, 8 o'clock, let's get through the rest of the slides and then we'll do questions at the end. Because some of the slides may answer some of the questions, because I know people's heads get going and they kind of get ahead of us if we do it at school all the time. So the one question I did see pop up there while we're pulling this back up was the ADA questions. And the ADA piece is really, it's, when you hear the health department talk about pre-existing conditions that are susceptible to increased COVID dangers. That's, whether it be diabetes, we have a number of teachers that have gone through and are cancer survivors, and that piece with compromised immune systems because of chemo or radiation. We have, so it's along those lines that they've been able to qualify for the ADA exemption.
Okay, so we've kind of talked about this a lot already, but just so you guys know, the social distancing at school is going to be maintained as much as possible. We're really working on that 6 feet wherever possible. We're not mixing students among groups. As Chad mentioned, specialists except for PE will be coming to the classroom. And that's really just to kind of minimize the movement throughout the building. Social distancing on buses. Currently in kindergarten, every kid is going to be at their own table. Because the groups are so small, we were able to kind of give them all a table, which is nice because at 5 years old, it's kind of hard to manage all of your stuff in a tiny little space. So they are going to have a table. That's going to get a little more challenging as we get older, but we are going to work to give them as much space as possible. All the desks, it's kind of old school, they're all facing the same direction, 6 feet apart, kind of like how when we were in school back in the day. Students are going to eat meals in the classroom, upper grades, lower grades, or actually we're going to, like we said, do in the cafeteria. In our hallway, we're designing arrows, so it's all one direction. Our school kind of is pretty easy for that in the way the hallway is. And students transitioning to after school care, so we don't know about after school care yet, so we're not going to worry about that bullet.
Yeah. Oh, Leslie, you said something that reminded me of, it'll come back to me, I'm sure. Go ahead. Oh, this is me.
So, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so hand washing, we have, like we said before, we are building in very specific scheduled hand washing times during the day. And then of course, there'll be bathroom, those obvious ones before and after recess, before and after lunch, before and after specials. And then we have just built-in breaks. So we are going to keep them washing their hands as much as we can. There is even more and more keeps coming to us about the best thing we can do is wear a mask and wash your hands, wear a mask and wash your hands. If we do nothing else than do those two things, there's a very, very low chance, not impossible. And I fully expect, we're going to have to deal with a few situations as we go because we just have so many people, but we will be minimizing and mitigating the chances of spreading anything. So, and probably colds and flu also.
Yeah, just to so you guys understand a little bit about how that will fit in. When you think about the schedule, there's very little changing happening to our master schedule. When the kids have their screen time break at home, that's going to be a hand washing break at school. So the schedule is pretty much identical. Like that hour in the middle of the day where you have family choice time and lunch, that for school is going to be lunch and their 30-minute recess. So there really is going to be a very minimal change right now to the master schedule in terms of K2.
Second grade was the one grade we did have to realign a little bit in the middle of the day just to fit lunch. So their special flip-flop to the end of the morning. But really that was really that was the only change. Otherwise, chopper time at the end of the day, family choice time at home at the end of the day will be part of school choice time at the end of the day also. A lot of it probably will be packing up, clean up, washing their own tables, and starting that shared responsibility of, staying clean also.
So we've kind of touched on this. There were some questions around supplies, but we'll just repeat it. So in terms of supplies, we're not sharing supplies. So kids are going to be required to label and maintain their own personal set of classroom supplies. We are going to ask them to keep them in their backpack and take them to and from school each day. So when their 2 days are in person, 2 days at home, they have access to the same supplies. There's no sharing of electronic devices, toys, books, games, any of that type of stuff. Teachers are going to have like little baskets basically on the desks for students of their stuff for their 2 days. So if it were whatever it may be, like manipulatives, Unifix cubes, whatever it may be, toys for just their break time at their desk. Then at the end of their 2 days, that will be changed out and will be cleaned on Mondays and then switched for another kid. Students, this is a big one. We do have students attending on Mondays right now as part of our English of Second Language program. And we had this on Monday, a kid didn't bring a water bottle. Well, the water fountains are all closed. So luckily I was able to find him one because we had some water bottles around in the building, but please, please, please make sure your child brings a water bottle because, something we've learned, and I'm sure some of you have too, if you're working and wearing a mask, it's remembering to drink is really hard, because you have a mask on all day, but we really want to keep the kids hydrated. So please make sure they do send a water bottle. And then of course, make sure the supplies are in their backpacks. When you're thinking about kindergarten, we're gonna be asked for a change of clothes to make sure that's in the backpack. And teachers will probably ask for you to send that beach towel just so they can kind of like lay out a space for themselves on the floor as well, because we don't have any carpets on the floor at this time.
Yeah, and for recess, as far as what, clothes, yes, there could be accidents, but we're going to have the kids go outside as much as possible during recess. So if it's not raining, we're out. And if anybody knows Miss Nealon, she's tier 1, but I'm sure she's going to tell her team, get out there if it snows and get those kids in the snow. So they're experiencing that as well. So we will have those kiddos outside. Oh, laptops. We already talked a little bit about laptops. We're going to ask all of our students that have a school issued laptop to bring it back. I will check, as I said, on the use your own device, bring your own device form, and we'll get that to you if need be, if you want your child to bring back and forth a laptop that is yours. And if a student does use your computer at home, when they come to school, we will have a school laptop ready for them to use if they did not sign one out. When they do get home, it might be a good idea to kind of clean those off and kind of, I know there are some great products that are made for phones and laptops that don't damage the screen now. So, that might be worth purchasing just to keep them operating correctly, but hopefully
Okay,
they'll
so
all
now
last.
we'll get into the meat. This is if they're sick at school. So these are some of the specific protocols we're going to go through. So if your student anywhere this were to happen at school, they'll be sent home. So if they exhibit a fever of greater than 100.4, if they exhibit any of these symptoms, new chills, new cough, new sore throat, new muscle aches, new loss of taste or smell, nausea or diarrhea, parents and guardians are going to be notified and you are going to be required to come within 1 hour. We do ask that you please be respectful of that because this requires a staff member to stand with the child in the isolation room. And then it's a very specific process. So please make sure that there's someone who will be available to pick your child up in case of illness. You'll come to the front door and you'll ring the doorbell. And at this time the way our isolation rooms are set up, they are down by door 2. So the office will tell you to go down to door 2 and we will walk the child out to you. At that time, we have the very specific form that we are going to give you. It's a referral form that Chad mentioned earlier. That form is going to be required to be signed or filled out by a physician prior to you returning to school. And on there, basically, you'll have to call your pediatrician and they're going to either say your child needs to get a COVID test, or they're going to say these symptoms are seasonal allergies, the kid's fine, they can go back to school. We just need a copy of that with them when they return to school. In the event we do have a suspected COVID case within our building, the health department is notified and there will be very specific protocols. They basically take over and they're going to tell us what to do and how to communicate and who to notify. If your kid is sick, I mean, we cannot emphasize this enough. And I will say, I know people have been very respectful of this and we hope that you continue. Please keep them home. Because of this concurrent teaching model, they can log right in and be with their class right at home and doing the exact same thing they would be doing at person. And it alleviates the risk of us having to shut down an entire class. If they are going to be sick, or if they're not going to be there because you have a doctor's appointment or you're going out of town or whatever, please let the office know why. Because if we do not know why, we have to contact you because we have to document why the students are not in school. So please call the attendance line, send an email to the attendance line to notify why they're not going to be at school. And this is the same form that we shared earlier, just to make sure that you fill that out.
So,
Yeah.
So coming back to school, and we already mentioned this, but there, this is something that really has, there is very stringent protocols around this, obviously. I guess I could read this through for you. If they do have COVID-like symptoms, they can't read.
What am I doing? Sorry.
They can't come back to school until they have had either a negative COVID test or the doctor has signed that form saying that they are okay. It's the one right before that. Saying they're okay to come back and they're fever-free for 24 hours without medication. We have actually I think we're up to 14 different scenarios and kind of a if-then list of flow chart for 14 different scenarios, whether it be a child with a family member, a child that tests positive, a staff member, or a staff member with a family member, or just symptoms but test negative. We have that flow chart for everything, and we can certainly and will help walk through that, what that means for you if you're in this situation. And I hope everybody, please, and we had to say this to the staff because we want our staff to not be heroes. And if they're not feeling good, we want them to stay home too. We do not want our staff coming into work if they are sick. And, COVID is not about somebody staying clean or healthy or hygienic. Nobody can control COVID. It can be picked up on any surface at any time, any place, regardless of how clean some place is. So it will happen. We're not going to be naive to believe that it's not going to, but we're going to follow all these protocols in place and make sure that we can make returning to school as safe as we can for everyone. Leslie and I joke that if one of us gets it, we're both going down and in quarantine because we have been so working so closely together every single day trying to get all this put together. So at the end of the day, it really comes down to that form, and if they do have COVID or someone in the family has COVID, where they quarantine for 10, if they have it, they quarantine for 10 days, get a negative test, and then they come back. If somebody in your family has it, it's 10 days for that, they quarantine for the 10 days with that person, then they still have to quarantine for 14 days. So it really could end up being 3 weeks or so, which again, another reason why we felt it was super important that to keep kids with their teachers in their class. They can log on. If that happens, they, like Leslie said before, you log on, you're just part of the class virtually until you're able to return back. You haven't missed a beat. Hopefully you didn't get sick. You just, had to quarantine, and we move forward and give them a big air hug when they come back, and welcome back. How it's handled, it will vary case to case. Each of the classrooms, the health department does take over. I have a very specific form should anybody come in contact with COVID that was in the building, have COVID that was in the building. Either one of those situations, there is a super spreadsheet or form that I have to fill out. It puts me in direct contact with HR, the health department, Fairfax County Health Department, and then I provide as much of that information as I can, and then they take it over and begin the contact tracing, and based on that information, we will be given a directive. Is it just a class? There are a number of scenarios where we don't even have to have the class out. It's just a student or the staff member. And then, but if it's a case where, there was a possibility, we would just move that class to a 14-day virtual learning, and then right back as we would start up again. But that is very regulated, very specific, and we will have lots of help should that be. There is also a community site right now where you could log on as a community member and look at the COVID cases that have happened and been within the school system. And it's quite interesting, and it really is super low, and it's very low amongst kids. It's really a lot of the adults and staff members. Many of them, are custodians or people that are, SAC members and that have been in the building right now, most recently. But the rate for students is extremely low for all the kids that we have in the buildings currently. I think if I'm on the right place. Oh, look at that. I went right into. Now, if we do have more than 2 cases in the school, oh, is this that site?
Yeah, I just put it in the chat so everybody can look at it.
Oh, cool. So if we do have more than 2 cases in a school, that again would be a Fairfax County and a health department decision, depending. And of course, there'd be plenty of community communication and that piece. We do have to be somewhat respectful of confidentiality. So, there will be certain pieces of information that are deliberately left out when we do start, if we have to, send that communication out. But it certainly will, it will have enough detail so that you will know the student or the schools, what the school's doing, how the reaction, what the health department is requiring us to do, and what the plan will be for the immediate future and return back. Let's see. And then we did stick in some resources for you. Again, there's a huge concern with mental health and wellness, which is again why we felt it super important to keep our kids with their teachers and you to have the peace of mind that was going to happen. This isn't just student health and wellness and emotional support. It's parent health, wellness support. It's teacher health and wellness support. And we are all part of that for each other. And we recognize that. The county's done a number of different video links, for kids, how to do parent view, you know, take it in a grain of salt. It's a pretty generic return to school daily procedures. That's a very generic, but it will give you an idea of, you know, what some of the things we are thinking about as we are working through. It is our hope. We're almost ready to take some pictures of the kindergarten classrooms and send those out. We're going to be taking pictures. Actually, I think I have a couple on my phone of the cafeteria. We're going to take some pictures of first and second grade classrooms when they're set up so that you as parents can see those spaces too. You know, we'll probably show you some of the, you know, the directional stuff and distancing things we put up for the on the floors and in the hallways. And you know, if at any time you just have questions, let us know, reach out to us. If we don't have the answer, it might take a couple, you know, emails or phone calls to dig it up, but we'll certainly get it. And every single day we're learning a little bit more as we dive into all these different aspects. And you know, it's surprising. We were so geared up for COVID and this whole thing in preschool, and we brought the preschoolers back. And at the end of the day, the most frustration came from situations that we experience at the start of every school year that are just so common about, you know, buses and those things. We just kind of looked right over the top of that stuff, thinking about all this new stuff. And it was just the same old thing that always happens on, you know, the first couple of days of school that we're like, oh yeah, why does this surprise us? It happens every year. And we're like, we're so geared up for all this outside noise that it kind of grounded us as we thought about kindergarten and saying, yeah, we're still going to have kids that cry and kids that, you know, miss mom and dad after being home and with them for so long. And our counselor, Jen Morocco, is going to be there. We have 2.5 or 3 days, 1 week, 2 days, another. We have another counselor that will be working with our school this year. We're very excited to have her. So Miss, we should have done formal introductions. We'll have to get her over to a PTA meeting next month and introduce her.
Mr. McRae, there's 16 questions in the queue.
Oh, all right. Can't see the queue. Go ahead. Shoot, Ken. Let's get this done here.
Okay, all right. So question number 1, I'm just going to go straight down through them. This is from Aura, and some of them have already been answered by Leslie. So Aura asks, you know, basically is asking if there's an age limit on how you can drop people off. She's got a 14-year-old daughter. Leslie said that yes, she can take her, and once the temperature screening is done, that's okay. But is there an age limit on
13.
how young the company? 13. Okay. All right. The Del Boys asked if in-person student tests positive for COVID, what are the protocols? I think you covered that already. Jeff has asked, along with the question on, well, actually, I should ask Del Boys, is that cover your, did you already get that your answer?
They gave it a thumbs up.
Okay. All right. Jeff asked, along with the question on personal laptops, Chromebooks, will students be able to plug in near their desks? The document just asked that students charge their laptops overnight.
Yeah, we have charging stations available.
Yep.
Okay. Artemis says, when will we know if current teachers are in class? Assuming versus online.
Who's your teacher? I'll tell you right now.
Artemis?
So in kindergarten,
Mrs. C is in class.
she's in
Mrs.
class.
Nealon is our only virtual teacher for kindergarten, and Miss Gibbons will be in the room.
Yep.
Okay, Lauren T says, I may have missed this with bedtime. So it says dismissal starts at 3:30. Is that specific? Do certain grades go at certain times, or how do we plan without creating a roadblock? And Leslie had said that they're going to try and be as efficient as possible with end time being at 3:30.
Yeah, I mean,
Christy
anybody
asked-
who's experienced dismissal at North Springfield, it's slow at the beginning, but this year we only have like 20 kids, so it really shouldn't be that slow. So
No,
hopefully it's efficient.
exactly.
You say that now.
I know.
Christy
I know.
says how. Christy says, how will 3 to 5 administer especially advanced math?
So none
I don't
of
know.
3 through 5, none of that is going to change until, sometime in January. I'm sure they're going to set a date here or confirm a date, probably Thursday night at the school board. I know the dates are a hot item. So advanced math and grades 3 through 5 are going to continue for the next 9 or 10 weeks, just like they are. Once we come back, what we will probably, it will be a concurrent advanced math class. And by then we are out of the cohort model and we can exchange groups within the grade level. So we will be allowed to move kids within the building to go to different classes so that their particular math group or reading group or whatever group they're working with could concurrently work with kids at home while a teacher is instructing at the same time. So by the time we get there, we will not be in a cohort model any longer. We'll be in that third layer, and we will be able to mix kids, groups of kids within the building. So that should not be a problem. At least, knock on wood, we're hoping not.
Okay, the Hoffmans have asked, the document to review and sign doesn't load in Parent View app or website login.
So it's not going to load until, I'm sorry, we weren't clear about that. So 6 days prior to you returning, your cohort returning to school, you're going to get an
Tomorrow.
email through SIS. When you get that email, so right now, the only families who would have it would be kindergarten families. Is that a kindergarten family who asked that?
Yes.
I'm not sure. That's the Hoffmans. Okay.
Yes, you are a kindergarten family and you didn't, it's not loading?
It doesn't load through the app or the website. The document's there, but it just looks like an unreadable file. So
We'll check on that tomorrow then.
Yeah, it should load, so that's weird. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, Anna Saunders says, it seems hard to imagine that all the teachers can be comfortable going back to the classrooms. Do they have an option to teach concurrent classes from home?
Only if they're tier 1.
Yep.
Okay, Lauren T says, and is there an updated supply list in terms of what we are supposed to send in, like hand sanitizer, sandwich bags, etc.?
We're taking care of all that.
Okay, Rita E says, when large monitors were mentioned earlier today, were those large monitors for use at home? Leslie said, if I recall correctly, said, no, that's for the classroom. Anna said, follow up, teachers with ADA exemptions. How difficult is it to get those?
It's not easy. And actually, our teachers are so dedicated to your kids. Half of them wanted to come back and put themselves at risk. And Leslie and I were like, no, we're going to make this work. We're not letting you be crazy. And because we have some, teachers that really, from an immune system standpoint, are compromised. And, we love their dedication, but we gotta, sometimes it's like, we felt like we were the parents and we were talking to our high schoolers like, no, you are not going to come back to work in person. It's just not worth it at this time. We'll talk about it if they get a vaccine and it goes well, then we'll talk about doing that, the second half of the year. We'll see what happens, from a school board standpoint. But, there's too many variables to put anybody's health at risk. And, we're doing all these things to protect everyone, from our kids to our teachers. And we can make it happen, and we can have them teaching from home. They've been doing it. It's just, this is one of those crazy years that we'll all look back on. And we all realize that we're just, as much as they want to, they have to put their own health and safety first. So, but we have actually a number of people that are cancer survivors. We have a number of people that, have diabetes. We have a number of people that have a couple other immune disorders. And so, they do have to be very careful about being around germs.
All right, had an anonymous question here. How often will the K-2 bathrooms be cleaned during the day, or will they be using the older classroom bathrooms?
No, they'll still be using the bathrooms. Actually, we have a meeting with the custodial staff tomorrow to go over, again, procedures, protocols, and we have them going into the preschool bathrooms midday and doing that. And so I think when the kids go into lunch and they're out of their classroom for an hour, I think right now the plan is to have them go in and clean sinks and bathrooms during that time. And then at night, again, there's a very specific end of day protocol as well, where they go through and clean everything again in the classroom with specific chemicals in a specific order. And so it's pretty detailed.
Okay, looks like the next question here is from the Bulliams. Have the technical glitches with school computers calmed down? Leslie said, yes, technical glitches have improved. Nothing is perfect, of course. Let's see. Nancy says, if there is a glitch for all the virtual students, will in-person classes continue and the virtual students need to catch up? And Leslie said the in-person students will not move ahead. They will transition to another activity until everyone can join again. There's a question here, since grades 1 and 2 are essentially out of school between the quote unquote get ready days and Thanksgiving break, will they get any asynchronous work that they can get besides ST Math and Imagine Learning?
Yes, the teachers actually have been working on pulling those plans together for them. They should have asynchronous work for all of those days.
Okay, we're almost caught up here.
Except for the Mondays.
Except for what?
Except for the Mondays, which as each group comes back, or actually, no, starting after first and second, all the Mondays then be transitioned to planning time. And then there's just asynchronous work that the teachers will have for them on Mondays at that time too. So that's happening across the board at every grade level pretty soon.
Excellent. Almost caught up. Jeff says, looking at the dashboard, do not see that the schools listed and reported cases by site. Does that mean that we do not have any cases? And if so, great job. I hope we keep it that way. And Leslie said, fingers crossed. So I'm assuming that means no, we do not have any.
We don't have any, but we're not going to talk about it.
Yeah.
Very good. All right, so we're treating this like Fight Club. Got it. All right, Lauren T says, the pictures would be amazing as a first-time NSES mom. You guys are doing an amazing job, and everyone is clearly working together as a team. My kindergarten student doesn't know anything different and loves Mrs. C and came home today just talking about Mrs. Potts' jokes.
We'll put them in the newsletter this week. We'll send out pictures in the newsletter this week.
All right, Rainbow Sim says, can you repeat what is changing about the second grade lunch / specials time? And for a first grade, my child will be taught by 2 first grade teachers starting December 1st, question mark?
Yeah,
Yes.
so yes. And so there'll be 2 teachers supporting both virtual and in person. There'll be a virtual teacher and an in-person teacher. And then in terms of second grade, we're going to just send out the whole schedule because I'm not looking at it right now. And I don't think Chad is either. So I don't want to give you wrong information. So we'll send out the official schedule in our newsletter this week.
Okay, and the only other ones I see here.
And maybe what we'll do is we'll have the grade levels send it home in their grade level specific newsletters. That way it reads specifically to that grade level of students. It might be easier than looking at the entire master schedule. It might be easier just to have the grade level teachers say, here's what's the changes for our grade level.
Okay, just as a clarification, the document to review and sign, it is, where was that? Looks like it is It's fine on the school website for review and download, but not through parent view. Someone said, do they have to go to the school or is it just an option? Can they take classes from home?
So I answered that from a teacher. I wasn't sure if they were referring to students or teachers. So the only teachers who are eligible to teach from home are teachers with an ADA accommodation. And then for students, it's your choice. You had the choice to either stay home or virtual, but we are past the date. So the school board is, or the Dr. Brabrand is saying no changing at this time.
But who knows
And
what
those
Yeah,
are
who knows
all,
what that's going to change.
and those are all the questions that we've had in the queue. We're all caught up.
Woo!
Woohoo!
All right, great. So last call for questions before we thank Chad and Leslie for their time and let them go back to their families.
Okay, sorry, I was just kidding. We do have another question.
So
Can
so
you
the
ask
health-
them to elaborate on what they? Oh, sorry.
Go ahead,
Oh.
Ken.
I'm sorry, I saw the health form question. You have a different one. Go ahead.
Let me see. Where is it? I just okay. It is. Can you ask them to elaborate on what they meant by they're trying to maintain and not close the gap? Or
Well, as far as instruction goes, we're just trying to keep up with the pacing guide. You know, clearly with how last spring ended, going, you know, suddenly to this virtual setting and then, you know, the county's requirement of moving through, you know, the curriculum for each grade level, there were some natural gaps that obviously happened because instruction didn't move as fast, we didn't cover as much material, and we certainly weren't as in-depth that we normally are. And then coming back in the fall, some of those things were in place, but we've also, but it's gotten a lot better because the systems, the structures have gotten much more efficient. We're spending pretty much a full day on instruction. And then we're also, the county's done a nice job of really stripping out the pacing guides to really just the essential information that we need to make sure our kids can and be able to do before they leave that grade level. But we still haven't addressed, you know, some of these gaps that have occurred going back all the way to last March. So the goal is, you know, in order to fill gaps, you need to put double time into some areas at some point. And it's super hard to do virtually. So our goal is to keep everybody up with the current curriculum, get them through this where they are without creating further gaps. And so that when we do have that opportunity, or, you know, and it could be even next fall, but when we do have them in a point where we can do a true double dip and have those kids that, you know, need extra work here and there or in specific content areas, we then know through assessments, exactly where we have to hit, and we have the time and to do it with all of our resources available. And that's when we really are going to have to work super hard and diligently to get kids caught up, ensure that they're caught up to their grade level reading, grade level math, exposure to that different vocabulary. We know this. And so, you know, again, it kind of goes back to that word mitigate. We're trying to, you know, if there is a gap forming or has formed, we're trying to slow it down or stop. And then, you know, we will chip away as we can throughout this year, but we know it's going to have to return to some sort of normalcy for us to really dive in and attack those gaps and areas we need to attack on an individual level. You know, we're gonna need those kiddos back in front of us for a full day and, you know, for time, so we can do our due diligence with each one of them at an individual level to where they're at. And it's super hard virtually. And I'm not sugarcoating, that's just the way it is. And we're just doing the best we can to hopefully close some of those. And if, and definitely not, if there are gaps or things that kids have missed, not let that area become an issue of where it's growing and becoming a bigger problem until we really can get them in front of us and dissect their needs and understanding, and then address that specific area with those kids and get them going back on the right track.
All right, great. Thank you so much. Was
Right.
there any other questions?
Jenny asked, the health screening form needed to be, does it need to be before they go to school? Do we have to print it out or can we send it electronically? Leslie said we can send it to Miss Cruzy. Stephanie Moore said, I might have missed since I came late, but I apologize, but is dismissal only by kiss and ride? And Leslie said, no, bus or walkers as well. Then Napoleon said the websites, ST Math and Imagine Learning, et cetera, have been a great supplement to keep kids engaged while learning. Jenny also asked if there's a way for her to know how she if she already submitted the form, I think. And I think that that one was not answered. Maybe ask.
No, I answered it. I said I'll look for her in the morning. Just shoot me an email.
Okay, sorry. I think that's all the questions that came in.
All right, last call for questions.
When you have a second, I have a motion for the PTA.
Oh, okay.
Not a question for the.
Now, because I don't hear any more questions. What would you like to move, Christy?
I motion that the PTA write a letter of support, kind of confirming Mr. McCrae's request that our school hours stay the same, and send it to the regional superintendent, the superintendent, and our school board members.
Hey, that's a good idea. Do you want to draft that letter for us? No, I'm just kidding. All right. No, it sounds good.
But there has to be a second and an approval.
That motion.
I'll second it just so we can move it on.
I can give you some of the safety talking points around the two programs, but we don't have to do this now for everybody, so that everybody can have a good night.
A second.
All right. I don't remember what I'm supposed to say. It's approved. I need my gavel. I'm gonna.
They're all in favor.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Dissent, say no. Nay.
Boy, I heard somebody.
Probably Scott.
Oh, there's two of them. All right. Well, the ayes have it anyway. So the motion passes. Gavel. All right. Christy, do you have any more homework?
The other thing I will say is I'm sending an email this week to Mr. McCrae and Ms. Malkowski. Each year, the PTA gathers the teachers' favorite things. So if anyone is looking for ways, tokens of appreciation, they have a go-to list of things that the teachers actually like and allergies that they might have. And that should be out by hopefully in the next 2 to 3 weeks so that all the parents can see it.
Okay.
Thank you, Christy.
Thank you, Christy.
All right. Madam President, I would like to ask for unanimous consent that we adjourn, so to give people an opportunity to object if they wish. But if there are no objections, then I say that.
What?
I'm asking that we adjourn.
Oh,
Without objection.
yes. Okay. Well, if there are no objections to adjournment, then we are adjourning. Gavel.
Thank you, everybody, for taking time tonight. Hopefully we put a few of your questions and minds at ease a little bit about creating a picture of what it's going to look like. We'll get those pictures out so you know that you can even see kind of some of the structures and protocols in place. And again, please reach out to us if you do have further questions. And if we don't have the answers, we'll do the best we can to find them. So.
And to reach out to you, do people just write your
email us? Both of our emails are right on the website. You can just go It's mine's CG McRae at FCPS, and Leslie's is LA Malkowski at FCPS. But both on the website, you can get right to our emails.
All right, great. Thank you so much. That is all.
Thank
Really
you. And join PTA.
Join the
Enjoy
PTA.
Join the PTA. Sorry.
Could be you. Be leading this meeting.
You don't have to actually, like, we just want you to join. and
Stop
be-
recording, whoever's recording.